Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the September 16th, 2025 Montgomery County Council meeting. Council member Lukey and Sales are attending this evening's hearing virtually. Agenda item 9 for today is our public hearing on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. The plan covers approximately 3.5 miles of University Boulevard east and west between Capitol Beltway and Amherst Avenue in Wheaton. The planning board draft includes recommendations on land use, zoning, urban design, housing, transportation, parks and trails, historic resources, public open spaces, community facilities, and the environment. The planning board draft can be reviewed on the planning board's website. A Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee work session is scheduled for September 29th, 2025. Those wishing to submit materials for the council's consideration should do so by the close of business September 22nd, 2025. As a reminder of our public hearing testimony guidelines, your comments must be limited to issues relevant to the public hearing topic for which you are testifying and are appropriate for a public meeting. You'll hear a tone when your time is up, and we appreciate everybody abiding by their allotted time, and I appreciate everyone in the audience respecting those who are testifying. We have over 30 people, and it's a rainy night, so I know everybody wants to get in, be heard, and get home safely. So we're going to kick it off now with Karen Burdett.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Karen Burdett, and I am the chair of the Montgomery County Historic Preservation Commission. And I am here tonight to talk about a property on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan, the Romeo and Elsie Horad House. And in May of 2024, the Historic Preservation Commission had a meeting and work session to designate the Horad House, and we unanimously voted to list it on the locational atlas and recommend it for designation. In May of 2025, the planning board also heard a report on the Horad House, and they also voted unanimously to list it on the locational atlas and recommend that the council include it on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. Now, you all have been given the information about the Horad House, and I'd like to just very briefly, for the public record, tell you a little bit about it. It is a really interesting, fascinating story and a property that holds the significance for the county and its mid-century history and its civil rights history. The family that owned the house was the Sewell family. They were an African-American family that had been in the county since the 1800s. And they owned their land. And each successive generation, they would subdivide their land for the next generation could build a house on. At that time, African Americans could not buy land in the county. They were restricted. So only if they had land existing could they subdivide it for each generation, or if they were deeded or given land. And then they would subdivide it for each generation. So then we get to the 1930s, and Romeo Horad married Elsie, who was one of the part of the Sewell family, and her family subdivided the land so they could build a house. And that is the house that is going to be we are requesting be designated for the master plan. It was one of the last houses built because the land had been subdivided so many times. Both Romeo and Elsie were heavily involved in the civil rights activities of the era, but Romeo was a lawyer, and he got into real estate, and he and his partners worked around the covenants of the time that were restricting ownership and buying of land by black residents of the county, and they very cleverly worked the system against the covenants until the covenants were eventually outlawed. But they would their white partner would buy land, buy a property, and then they would sell it to black owners. So they were doing, subverting the process to get attainable housing and generational wealth for an entire generation of African Americans in the county in the 1940s. So we would highly recommend that you designate this property to the master plan.
Thank you very much, Ms. Burdett, for that information, and that's very helpful, especially on the eve of tomorrow. We're doing a panel on the 250th anniversary of Montgomery County, and I appreciate the history there as we're looking at this plan, and very much appreciate you coming this evening. Next, we'll turn to Allison Gillespie.
Good evening. So this University Boulevard, this corridor is right around the corner from my neighborhood. I spend a lot of time going back and forth, several times a week, back and forth through this corridor. My children went to preschool and Four Corners, and my kids were Down County Consortium kids. We spent a lot of time going to events at Blair High School and on and on and on. For several years now, I've been attending meetings about the plan, and I'm actually really excited by a lot of what is proposed. I think there's a huge opportunity here to increase housing near transit and near existing amenities, and I'm glad to see that detailed. There are some fantastic places for multi-use housing in this community and mixed-use design, and as you all know, I really support increasing housing in our county, so I think it's great. I have submitted detailed comments. I'm going to just hit the main bullet points, and hopefully the notes I gave in my comments will be helpful to staff as they look at the plan. Transit is really strong. It's one of the best served corridors for transit in our county. And it's slated to become even stronger with BRT, which is good, but it needs to be supported by safe walking and biking. And right now it's deadly to cross the roads here. They are kind of a confusing high-speed mess of spaghetti, and I'm really not sure this plan goes far enough in its recommendations for making the corridor safer for all users. I think the bicycle pedestrian proposals in this plan are good, but they aren't enough. They need to consider the things people actually want to walk to and bike to in this area, including me. I bike into this area quite a bit. But that's schools, churches, shops. And this really should be not just an area you ride through, but should be a destination. And too much of the focus on the conversation has been on getting people through this area at high speeds. And instead, it should be possible to get around without a car, because that would reduce a lot of the small trip traffic. So I support the expansion of street grid and find that's consistent with things like Thrive. I've put notes in here about that. I'm watching the clock carefully, so I want to say yes to increasing housing in this corridor, especially the better use of the Safeway lot and the U.S. Postal site and all the mixed use. And also, I would really encourage the staff to please make sure that this plan is melds well with 29 North. We're hoping to have a side path there so that pedestrians can get from all of those neighborhoods and connecting that to Four Corners. And one of my concerns about this plan is that it kind of happened in isolation without an acknowledgement of the 29 opportunities. And I would love to see both of those become a lot more pedestrian friendly. So yes to more housing, yes to a lot of the improvements in here, and thank you for trying to modernize this really important part of my life.
Thank you. Next we have William Commoners.
Good evening, President Stewart, members of the council. I'm Bill Commoners with Lurch, Early and Brewer, testifying tonight on behalf of the Montgomery 1936 Land Company, owner of 3 properties in the Four Corners area. 2 are in what I call the island formed by the lanes of University Boulevard west of Colesville, and 1 is on the south side of eastbound University Boulevard. They are shown on the map attached to our written testimony. Our client supports the draft plan recommendations for zoning changes to encourage reinvestment, but has significant concerns about the impact of transportation and right-of-way recommendations that are likely to functionally prevent the intended reinvestment. Without recognizing the needs for flexible responses to physical conditions, the draft plan risks sacrificing viability and functionality on the altar of dedicated lanes for transit. The expanded right-of-way and redesigned intersections at Four Corners risk disproportionately impacting already constrained parcels. The recommended right-of-way takings would substantially reduce parcel depth and disrupt the ability of existing businesses to operate safely. We urge the council to adopt a context-sensitive right-of-way policy for Four Corners that prioritizes minimizing impacts on parcels and existing businesses while still achieving the draft plan's pedestrian and safety objectives. The plan should call expressly for liberal use of existing relief mechanisms, such as subdivision waivers, alternative compliance, site plan review, and other relief under the zoning ordinance to permit deviations from strict standards. The relief could be built into the planned overlay zone. To effectively acknowledge the need for flexibility, we suggest adding to the plan the language on page 4 of our written testimony. The draft plan also contemplates phase-out of auto-oriented uses such as drive-throughs and filling stations. This prohibition creates immediate consequences for businesses and property owners. Rendering these uses as non-conforming can prevent reconfiguration in response to right-of-way acquisition or prevent modernization generally. The plan should clarify that such uses may reconfigure to restore safe functioning operations and may modernize. As to implementation, clear timing expectations are not established, and without guidance on timing, funding, or agency responsibility, property owners cannot plan realistically. Finally, by encouraging reinvestment through zoning changes, the plan lays the groundwork for meaningful transformation. But at the same time, the plan must be careful that its cumulative recommendations do not stifle the ability to achieve that same reinvestment. Thank you for your consideration of our comments. I invite your attention to our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephanie Helsing.
Good evening, Council President Stewart, Vice President Giwando, esteemed council members. For the record, my name is Stephanie Helsing, and I am here on behalf of the Greater Silver Spring Chamber of Commerce, representing 330-plus employers, mostly small and minority-owned businesses, in Greater Silver Spring and Montgomery County. We will be submitting more in-depth written comments as well, so this is kind of just a brief statement. We are a little concerned about the process by which this corridor is being planned, as we are seeing a disregard for some feedback from the small businesses and the broader community, as well as that it's being built on the assumption of an unfunded bus rapid transit. The lack of a real traffic analysis could have significant impacts on residents and existing businesses in the surrounding area. These changes by no means guaranteed increased economic development, particularly as suggested changes such as lane reductions, if implemented, would exacerbate existing conditions not just on University Boulevard, but also on Colesville Road, access to the Beltway, and to the East County, which is finally seeing some of the revitalization it's long deserved. The continuing need to be everything to everyone is also seen in the call for added dedications of frontages, removing parking, and impeding ease of access to existing businesses, which will assuredly undermine future reinvestment opportunities. As written, the plan could potentially eradicate the 3 businesses we just heard about that are owned by a local developer with significant investment in the county, who contributes to the tax base, employs local children, and adds to the vibrant community that makes Woodmore Woodmore. The Chamber acknowledges the need for improving pedestrian safety and accessibility, but it can't be done to the detriment of businesses and that support the local neighborhoods and to the future redevelopment of the area. We do support the earlier recommendations to mitigate this as submitted on behalf of Montgomery 1936 Land Company that is also highlighted in our written testimony. By actually working with property owners and residents, the Chamber believes that this plan, which can be a step towards improving connectivity and redevelopment and also encouraging investment in conjunction with existing ZTAs, can be accomplished. Further, this is my caveat, given that Silver Spring continues to bear the brunt of Purple Line construction, and with the recent announcement of funding for the Georgia Avenue, Maryland 97 Montgomery Hills project, which we are also very excited about, we would like to request that any plans requiring further roadway construction be held off for a little while and evaluated to measure the very real impacts of restricted movement on this community at large. Thank you for the opportunity to weigh in, and as always, the business community stands ready to work with the County Council however it needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Moore.
Good evening. My name is Mary Moore, and I moved into Sligo Woods with my husband in 1989. It was a beautiful suburban home with lots of huge trees and little crime. I was a public school teacher, and my husband worked in printing. We could not afford homes in other parts of Montgomery County. In 2018, I became very involved in the Sligo Woods Civics Association and started a Welcome New Neighbors Committee, where we welcome them every month. They come from many different nationalities, and often this is their first home. Doesn't this sound like the perfect place with more affordable homes, lower crime rate, and a very diverse population? Several years ago, Ngozi from the UBC Planning Committee came to our Civics Association and told us about this UBC plan. The wider sidewalks, slower traffic, safer cycling and walking would all be great. And I still love those parts. Although later I learned that the state would be responsible for providing for any changes to the actual University Boulevard. The last thing Ngozi mentioned was rezoning. What? Using an urban plan? Don't we live in the suburbs? I've attended many of the UBC meetings, both in person and on Zoom, and here are my objections. One is the density. The plan more than doubles the number of housing units from 3,500 to 7,000. Yet the state of Maryland has identified a few roads that are not safe for pedestrians and bikers in the entire state, and University Boulevard is one of them. This doesn't sound safe to me for walking, cycling, and children playing. Number 2 is affordable. The first few meetings, everybody was talking about affordable housing, lower income, missing middle. And then they stopped calling it affordable and started calling it attainable. So I asked them why. And they said there was no guarantee about affordability, as a lot of that was up to the developers. But there would be more housing and it would probably go down. In fact, I found out it could just as easily drive prices up, causing taxes to go up, forcing some of our current neighbors out because they wouldn't be able to afford to stay. The third concern I have is safety. Lots of people in a small amount of space, and there are no specific plans for adding police or fire. And our police district is severely understaffed and has been understaffed for many years. The fourth one is traffic patterns. How will opening some of our side streets to University help? In fact, it will encourage more cars to drive through our neighborhood to avoid the traffic snarls on University. This will make it more unsafe for walking, cycling, and children playing. Equitable engagement. While we have had many meetings, we listen and they talk. No one seems to be listening to us, which is why all the civics associations in my area oppose the plan. They said they knocked on 1,000 doors, but it was the apartments and not the single-family homes. So since University has been identified by the state as being dangerous, why would the city council increase the density before fixing those issues? It sounds to me like all we are going to get is new zoning. Please don't do this to our neighborhood. Respectfully.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone on this panel. I'd like to call up the next panel. First, I have Rich Bajewski, Cheryl Gannon, Eli Evenstadt, Robert Levy, Brett Fine. And we'll start with Rich Bajewski. I'm not going to, sorry, Mr. Bajewski. Yeah, my apologies. You can start when you're ready.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rich Biajitsky, and I live in downtown Bethesda. I'm speaking today as a representative of Strongtown's DMV. We advocate for safe, financially resilient, and affordable communities. We strongly support the University Boulevard Corridor Plan and suggest several amendments. Montgomery County faces an affordability crisis, and housing costs are a principal cause. This scarcity is a major contributing factor to the county's stagnant economy and residents leaving the county. The economics are clear. When more homes are built, supply increases, competition for existing housing eases, and prices stabilize. The plan would permit more housing along the corridor, increasing the number of homes available and helping to combat rising prices. However, to make the greatest impact, the plan should be amended to allow, by right, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and townhouses on all residential parcels within the corridor boundary. By allowing for more affordable housing types like these, we will be able to house the teachers, firefighters, social workers, and nurses the county needs to survive and thrive. The new BRT stations will connect these residents to the rest of the county quickly, affordably, and sustainably. High-quality transit reduces transportation costs for households, supports local businesses, cuts traffic congestion, and lowers carbon emissions. It simply makes sense to place more housing near reliable transit. We also support the addition of bus lanes, which will allow for quick movement of buses along the corridor, benefiting the over 12,000 riders per day. We support the changes proposed to street design along the corridor, as they will improve public safety, making it less dangerous for pedestrians and bicyclists. We would also like to address some concerns other residents have about this plan. First, this plan would not force homeowners to sell or change their property. The council will not be using eminent domain to take your property. This plan simply gives property owners more options with how they want to use their land. Some have also raised concern about school capacity. The county's own analysis projects a long-term decline in student enrollment. In addition, 2 new high schools are planned, including one along the corridor itself, meaning overcrowding from new housing is unlikely. More residents and developments also mean an increased tax base, which would help fund any unforeseen increases in public service demand. Finally, by allowing for more compact development, encouraging walkability and bicycling, and making bus rides faster and less likely to get caught in traffic, we reduce the need to drive for daily trips by car, which will actually lower traffic congestion. We'd like to thank the Council for this opportunity to speak and the Planning Department for their hard work. This plan presents an opportunity to build a more inclusive, affordable, and sustainable Montgomery County. We have attached additional comments to our testimony. We ask that the Council read those and adopt further amendments to strengthen the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Gannon?
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Gannon. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Civic Federation. The Civic Fed is a countywide umbrella group of civic and homeowner associations in Montgomery County. Over the last 18 months, our membership has tripled, and through our members, we now reach about 45,000 households. We are one of the oldest and largest nonprofits in the county. Many of our members have profound concerns about the UBC plan, and these concerns are shared by residents both inside and outside of the plan area, as this appears to be a prototype for the future. I have submitted a longer statement for the record and will highlight a few points here. The UBC plan jettisons the master plan process that has been in place for decades and that was promised in Thrive 2050. Master planning allows growth to be implemented on a scale tailored to individual neighborhoods. Bypassing master planning invites problems across the board, from inadequate infrastructure, traffic, transportation, public amenities, and loss of naturally occurring affordable housing. The plan ignores the fact that the Council of Governments has said there's already enough zone capacity in Montgomery County to meet future needs. It upzones over 500 moderately priced homes and rezones those homes for market rate multifamily housing. The Council must answer the question of how this helps to remove 500 moderately priced homes, many in the $500,000 to $600,000 range, from the inventory of single-family homes if most end up being replaced with more expensive housing or rental housing. These areas are some of the most diverse neighborhoods in the county, and the plan needs careful analysis about displacement, racial equity, and the loss of moderately priced homes. Although it's not required, the Council should request a racial equity and social justice study from the Office of Legislative Oversight. The plan conflicts with the pending More Housing Now proposal and extends development into neighborhood interiors. Removing lanes for car traffic will worsen congestion and cut through traffic, and there will be no BRT in the 20-year horizon for this plan. Environmental amenities will not be provided concurrently with the developments, but perhaps at some later date under CIP funding. Civic Federation members have expressed frustration with a lack of a voice in the process and planning fatigue from facing multiple and sometimes conflicting housing proposals over the last 5 years, forcing residents to devote precious free time to attending neighborhood meetings, hearings, and other time-consuming tasks to evaluate proposed changes to neighborhoods and without the assistance from a People's Council. We urge the Council to put a hold on this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Eli Evanstadt. Or maybe not. All right. Robert Levy.
Thank you. President Stewart, members of the Council, my name is Bob Levy. I am a 3-decade resident of Kent Mill and the former president of one of the largest religious institutions within the community. I and my neighbors oppose the UBC plan. The plan would replace the civic architecture of our community, and it is unsuited, with a dwelling-dense town center concept for which Kent Mill lacks the requisite infrastructure. The plan recklessly, radically, and needlessly shoehorns an unsuitable transit scheme into our corner of Montgomery County to align with the plans of the Planning Board's misguided town hall concept. The Montgomery County Planning Board failed this Council by summarily dismissing or flagrantly ignoring the recommendations and comments voiced by your constituents regarding the corridor plan. The board members are your appointees, and they betrayed you by rejecting the views of your constituents. The plan map inexplicably reaches into Kent Mill Shopping Center, yielding a thoughtless and unworkable environment for a homogeneous community. Therefore, this Council, as the final authority on land use matters, must exercise its legal right to reject the UBC plan. The plan punishes your constituents, who by necessity must use vehicles to commute to work, participate in school carpools, or shop. The Planning Board irresponsibly assumes that their plan will compel Kent Mill residents and others to replace car transport with buses, bikes, and feet. Quite simply, the plan fails to acknowledge the necessity of car travel in Kent Mill. Consequently, the plan will make transit more dangerous, difficult, and long. Therefore, the council must reject the UBC plan. The council should, 1, eliminate the dedicated bus lanes on University Boulevard in the absence of a functional, sustainable, and well-utilized BRT. The plan creates chokeholds within the commuting hours. 2, remove the Kent Mill Shopping Center from the plan. The shopping center is presently zoned, provides essential, reliable, and convenient access to retail outlets serving Kent Mill. 3, maintain the channelized right turn lanes and keep right on red from Arcola onto University Boulevard. Removing the channel lane and right on red lane would result in major gridlock on Arcola Avenue. And 4, maintain the already reduced 35 mile per hour speed limit on University Boulevard. This is a state thoroughfare connecting an interstate highway with multiple county outlet streets. University Boulevard is not a bucolic neighborhood roadway. The council's action on the corridor plan will inform the community of the adequacy of each council member's representation of it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Brett Fine.
I want to start off with a note of gratitude to the members of the council. I know that you are thoughtful and caring people. You have an incredibly difficult job. None of us fully knows the sacrifices you all have both made, both personally and professionally, to serve on this council, and I want to thank you for all of that. To be honest, right now, I am struggling with the entire handling of this poorly conceived plan. At this point, I've participated in 2 hearings, 2 council member listening sessions, and several meetings with county and state elected officials regarding this plan. At all of those meetings, the vast majority of residents and the Civics Association leaders of 6 affected neighborhoods have all stated they oppose this plan. As troubling as this may be for some of you, at this point, it is a settled fact that your constituents are overwhelmingly against this proposal. To deny this is the same as calling obvious facts fake news. We can debate different perspectives on bus lanes versus free flow of traffic, the increase in jaywalking from lowering speed limits, and the dangerous safety impacts of spillover traffic on our cherished neighborhoods. These are important details, but there is a much more important principle at work here: listening to your constituents, the most fundamental principle in democracy. Elected officials in the state complain about our president doing whatever he wants, regardless of what his constituents think. Yet for this issue, it seems as if some of you are glad to do the exact same thing as long as it advances your own agenda. We have followed your requested process of expressing our deep concerns. We spoke up in large numbers at public forums, only to be told that an unseen and unverifiable group are in favor. Those comments make a mockery of the public hearing process. We've been sent letters from council members saying they removed 1 of the 10 items people oppose and then self-proclaimed that they are listening to us. No one was fooled into thinking we were being listened to. We were told that the planning process this council started cannot now be stopped, not even by the council itself that started this process. This shows a lack of leadership. We were told that the residents who oppose this plan should meet with a county arbiter to decide the fate of the proposal. That comment misses the point. We, the constituents, are the arbiters of this plan, and we overwhelmingly told you no. That is all this council needs to know. If you vote in favor of this plan, you will be willfully voting against the express wishes of your constituents, and you will be ignoring the hearing and testimony process you set up. You will have failed the basic democratic principle of representing your constituents, not your own interests, however noble you may think they are. The stain of willfully ignoring your constituents needs to follow you throughout your political career, and for what? A 3-mile stretch of road that you have been told countless times not to touch. I hope you will all have the courage to do the right thing. Perhaps change your viewpoint or stand up for the most noble goal of putting the voices of your constituents above all else. What is at stake here is much more than the specifics of this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to this panel of speakers. I'll next call up Bruce Schulman, Bethany Mandel, Nelson Maskowitz, Bella Costavilla, Rafael Della Rata. All right. Mr. Schulman?
Council members, thank you for the opportunity to testify on the proposed University Boulevard corridor plan. My name is Bruce Schulman, From 1979 until 1985, I lived on University Boulevard. Since 1985, I have lived in the Kent Mill section of the county. Today, I wish to make 3 points. First, in the past, I've never been shy in criticizing the current county executive. However, on this issue, he is correct. Anyone who has not read Mr. Elrich's written remarks needs to do so immediately, because they are the best and most easily understood discussion of the issues I have read. Second, the University Boulevard community is absolutely irate and incensed at the planning board. Yes, as required, the board solicited our comments and testimony. However, unlike previous occasions, such as the redevelopment of Silver Spring, this time it utterly failed to include us as a true partner in forming a sensible plan acceptable to a large majority. At best, it made superficial changes. For this reason alone, the plan needs further study, after which it can again be the subject of your attention. My third concern is that all of the stable, long-established, middle-class neighborhoods along the University Boulevard corridor will be destabilized if the current plan is approved. These neighborhoods are some of the most diverse and racially and socioeconomically integrated in Montgomery County. During my lifetime, 3 different events destabilized neighborhoods in which I lived or with which I was familiar. The Supreme Court's 1954 decision in Brown versus Board of Education, the renewal of Southwest Washington slums, resulting in the establishment of a larger problem, which continues to this day, when the poverty-stricken residents moved to 8th Street Northeast, Anacostia, and nearby Prince George's County. Third, in 1964, based on their irrational fear of blacks, the movement of people in Upper Northwest to Maryland so that their children could attend BCC or Blair High schools. Most, but not all, of the single-family homes along University Boulevard currently sell for about $300,000 to $500,000, which is considerably lower than the current $650,000 median cost of a home. Adoption of the plan will result in the value of homes along the corridor rising, along with their property tax assessments. Some people will be forced to move because they will no longer be able to afford their homes. Others will be encouraged to leave because redevelopment will result in them living next to large apartments or other structures. Although the plan is intended in part to help solve a crisis with affordable housing, it will destabilize the communities and will likely create a larger problem involving current residents searching for moderately priced homes they can no longer afford. Thank you, and I distributed copies of my complete testimony to each of you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Shulman. We have it. Bethany Mandel? No? Okay. Nelson Maskowitz? Nelson's not here? Okay. Bella? Yes, you're up. You need to hit your button. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Most people on the, along the University Boulevard, we need our jobs to live here. We live out of our jobs. Just very few of us have major trust funds or have a luxury for remote job. Out of our job, we pay our taxes to keep up Montgomery County and your salaries. We don't live, unlike Northern Virginia or DC, we are not living in walking distance to major job centers. To get to our job, we need cars. And it's already traffic on University Boulevard. University Boulevard is the major thoroughfare of this area. Your plan proposed to suffocate this major job fair. It would be unbearable to get to the job. People, you significantly make our living worse, make our living condition worse with this plan. People who work will move out of this area. Who will get still will not get impacted by your plan? people who work remotely, people who doesn't need to work, like retired people, like people who live on assistance, and criminals. So your plan is very good to improve to increase number of criminal people here. Small businesses will be also leaving. This plan will drive them out of this area. Taxes will dry up along with the services which county provide. This will become depressed area. In University Boulevard area today, crime is already on the rise. There are shootings in university towers right now. Services are down. Few months ago, our family need to go to emergency room. We were in emergency room in waiting line for 6 hours. After that, we needed to go to MVA. We were in line for 2 hours. All services are down goes down in Montgomery County. You do not keep up. Schools are down in Montgomery County, one of the worst of Montgomery County in our area. Traffic in peak hours, it's already unbearable. Everything you do, you make our life condition worse, not better. What is this? And on the top of it, you propose to put here additional thousands of people. You cannot keep
Thank you.
now.
The bell means that your 3 minutes are up. You can submit your testimony, your full testimony to the council.
Richard, suka.
Thank you for coming today. Next, we have Rafael Della Rata.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Rafael Delarada. My sister, who is also in attendance, and I, we are owners of the Kent Mill Shopping Center. And she and I are also the leadership of commercial management company, which operates the center. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present a statement tonight on the plan. Kent Mill Shopping Center is mentioned frequently within the plan. And it was also mentioned frequently in multiple testimonies on September 10th that the center is a vital cultural and community hub for the surrounding neighborhoods. We're thankful to Council Member Ms. Fanny Gonzalez and her letter of July 17th to the Planning Board, which recognizes the relationship that Kent Mill Shopping Center has to the local community. The center has held this role for nearly 60 years. Our father, Joseph Delarada, developed this center into the complex of retail, commercial, and banking establishments that you all know and employ to this day. The center's 100% occupancy reflects our enduring commitment to providing opportunities to local entrepreneurs, to national brand tenants, and services to their customers, who are also our neighbors. We will continue to take our commitment to the Kent Mill community of stakeholders very seriously. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. That is, we're finished with this panel. Thank you for everyone for being here in person. I'd like to now call down Robert Lube, Pauline Muntz, Francis Spiegel, Sam Wolf, Michelle Joseph. Mr. Lube, you can start when you're ready.
My name is Bob Loeb.
Oh, so my
That's
apologies.
okay. Nobody gets it right. I live at 10601 Cavalier Drive. My parents lived at 10104 Dallas Avenue. I went to Four Corners Elementary, Sligo Junior High, and Northwood High School. My high school class is about to have its 60th class reunion. I have read the planning documents. The authors of these documents are well-meaning and have good intentions. However, the proposed goals appear to me to be in some cases a pipe dream and in other cases have negative implications not addressed in the plan. Let me start with the changing zoning rules to encourage the building of affordable housing. First, we must define what is affordable and for whom. Many houses in my neighborhood built in the 50s are now selling for between $550,000 and $650,000. That sounds like a lot of money. It is. However, the median household income in our county is around $130,000. That household can afford a 30-year mortgage at a 6% interest and buy in my neighborhood. So the middle of the county has affordable houses in my neighborhood. I'm also aware that there are lots of people in our county that earn between $80,000 and $100,000. What can they afford? Well, if you take the same kind of calculation, what you can buy with a 30-year mortgage at 6%, all they can afford is a house no higher than $400,000. And I have to admit, there are no houses in my neighborhood, or maybe very few, that are down at that level. However, it is also true that changing the zoning rules and letting the market work will not lead to the building of houses for that income group. What the market will do is build very large houses that will be sold for over $800,000. That's what developers do. They don't invest in low-income housing. For example, in the Four Corners regions, includes two parts of Gilmore Road, the 400 block just east of Brunette Avenue, and the 10,300 block between the funeral home and the Verizon Wire Center. The blocks stretch between Gilmore and University Boulevard. Not a single home faces University Boulevard. They all have huge privacy fences to block out the traffic on University Boulevard. The houses are large. One group was built in 2018. The houses have 5,700 square feet, 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. Zillow lists one of the houses at $1,147,000. That's what developers will do if you approve this plan. Now, if you want to build houses for the missing middle, or for people with even lower incomes, well,
And you can submit that and let us know. Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Thank you. Pauline Munz.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Pauline Toby Munz. I am a resident of Kent Mill, and I oppose the University Boulevard Corridor Plan because it undermines safety and ignores the needs of our community. The plan recommends supporting community well-being and resilience, yet its approach to development along the corridor and Kent Mill presents significant traffic and safety concerns. The proposed vehicular restrictions would increase rather than minimize congestion, which poses a safety risk to pedestrians, particularly along Arcola Avenue, a road with limited capacity that already experiences extensive traffic. The proposed lane and speed restrictions also create barriers to access for emergency response teams serving Kent Mill. Most concerning, as a mother of a young family, is that the congestion funnels commuters to what were once quiet side streets where children play, endangering some of our most precious and vulnerable residents. I fail to see why the board and council could not consider a few discrete projects such as pedestrian bridges rather than restricting community mobility, displacing community residents. We all want safe streets, and this plan does not achieve them. The plan assumes that problems with safety and mobility will be remedied by public transport and biking. This erroneous conclusion completely ignores the economic and practical needs of the corridor's diverse community, especially Kent Mill. A sizable portion of our community includes working families, those with multiple children attending different schools, some of which are not served by county school buses. Many work in areas not served by public transport. Some of us are simply tired of waiting for unreliable county ride-on buses that use existing bus lanes and still never show up on time. Our reality is that time is a luxury, and the time sink needed to meet our everyday needs using the plan's assumed transport modes is not a luxury that we can afford. Coupled with the vacuum of meaningful public engagement so large that the board and council often appear shocked by the corridor's opposition, this plan and approving it represents irresponsible governance at best. Should the council continue with this misguided plan, I do support the removal of Kent Mill Shopping Center from the rezoning. The original plan's inclusion of this shopping center and rezoning efforts contradicts its stated goal of sensitivity to cultural diversity. The plan acknowledges that little is known about the needs of Kent Mill's unique Jewish community. Yet the original proposal would rezone this area that contains significant Jewish cultural resources, and the council should be mindful not to erase these vital cultural and religious features without appropriate outreach under the guise of progress. Rather than adopt a one-size-fits-all approach, I urge the council to reject the plan and engage in meaningful, and I do mean meaningful, outreach to community stakeholders to develop a plan that supports existing corridor residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Frances Spiegel.
Good evening. My name is Frances Spiegel. I grew up in Four Corners and I have lived in my current home in Northwood Forest Knolls neighborhood for over a decade. I very much welcome the portion of this plan that seeks to add tree canopy, wider pedestrian facilities, and bike lanes to University Boulevard. In my neighborhood with the Forest Knolls Bike Bus and our Civic Association-sponsored neighborhood bike rides, we are raising a generation of cyclists. I would love to see expanded bikeways in the University Boulevard corridor that would allow my kids to bike safely to nearby businesses. However you vote on this plan, please pursue improved pedestrian and bicycle facilities on University Boulevard, which need not be paired with the rest of the UBC package. With respect to the zoning overlay, it goes too far into our neighborhood. It should be limited to the lots immediately adjacent to University Boulevard. These lots should be rezoned for appropriate commercial uses. Instead of a bunch of new residential properties, give us businesses that we can walk and bike to without crossing a major road. That would better support the planning department's goal of a 15-minute living. In terms of real estate development, the best addition to our neighborhood in the past 5 years has honestly been the Dunkin' Donuts that our kids can ride their bikes to without crossing a major road. Further, the placement of additional residential units should be part of a master plan for the county, not piecemeal corridor by corridor. Parking and traffic. The UBC plan assumes that people want to live at University Boulevard and Dennis Avenue without a car. This seems not plausible. You need a metro station and denser commercial to make that work. You need a grocery store in true walking distance. We have a BRT bordering our neighborhood on Colesville Road. It has not reduced or eliminated the need for a car, even for those of us who actively seek to use public transportation. The UBC plan states that corridor neighborhoods will be getting Ride-on Flex. However, the Ride-on Reimagined plan does not show our neighborhood scheduled for Ride-on Flex service. All that to say that the parking and traffic impacts of this plan need to be further studied and addressed. Finally, if you are going to proceed with this plan to convert existing single-family homes into duplexes and triplexes, then please take this opportunity to create accessible housing stock for people with disabilities and older neighbors in our communities. Our 1950s homes have stairs. They have tiny bathrooms. Currently, our older neighbors have to move out of our neighborhood or retrofit their homes at great expense if they can no longer navigate stairs or need a mobility device. They can't age in place and stay near their support systems. If you are planning to move forward with duplexes and triplexes for any older neighborhood in any version of this plan, please amend the plan to require that each duplex or triplex have one convertible accessible unit that complies with ICC A117.1 Section 1103 Type A. Adding a convertible accessible unit at the design phase of new construction adds little to no cost to the developer and results in a unit that can easily be made accessible for a future resident without the need to move walls, add ramps, or rewire light switches to the appropriate height. Thank you for this opportunity to comment on the future of my community.
Thank you very much. Sam Wolf. Mr. Wolf, can you press your button there? Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Sam Wolf. I live on Cohen Court in the North Four Corners neighborhood, one of the streets that will be affected by the upzoning. I'm here tonight because I'm against this plan, and I think that you all should be opposed to it as well. The goals behind the UBCP are good ones at like a 30,000 foot level. Yes, we could make University Boulevard safer for drivers, pedestrians, and bikers. We could increase the stock of housing in the county that is attainable as the population grows, but this plan doesn't do any of that. The plan is poorly conceived. The zoning is the biggest problem with the plan. It will change the character of our single-family home neighborhood. Most of the North Four Corners neighborhood is single-family homes, and we all moved there because we wanted to live in a single-family home neighborhood. It's conveniently accessible to the Beltway, to University Boulevard, which can carry us towards Connecticut Avenue into Prince George's County, the 29 corridor. Now, the thing is, this plan will have a harmful impact on the current residents. The neighborhood can't support greater density. One example is our neighborhood is served by Forest Knolls Elementary School. That has a capacity of 581 students. Now, it's at 550 students now. You add 31 more kids, which is pretty easy to do. You're going to need a new school. There's nowhere to build a new school in the neighborhood. You can't expand Forest Knolls Elementary beyond its current footprint because it sits on a tiny lot. People have mentioned the parking. I know that an invitation went out, and I think that Councilmember Mink took our Civic Association up on that. You can't build more housing along University Boulevard without harming our quality of life. Why? Our streets are narrow. We already have people parked on sidewalks to allow a car and a half to pass each other, dodging each other to try to get in and out of the neighborhood. Now, and if you congest University Boulevard more, you have more people cutting through our neighborhoods with our congested streets, driving at excessive speeds, and endangering our children who are playing in the streets. This plan also won't address the stock of attainable housing. As has been noted by multiple people who have come up here, no one is going to buy our single-family homes at fair market value to tear them down, go through the steps of consolidating the properties into bigger lots to build bigger homes to serve more people and have it cost less. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Next, we have Michelle Joseph.
Good evening. I'm delighted to be here, and I have a lot to share. Thank you for this opportunity to share my perspective on the Thrive Montgomery 2050 vision and the proposed University Boulevard corridor plan. I support Thrive Montgomery 2050's vision of a more accessible, equitable, developed county, one where future growth is centered around transit, stations, and mixed-use corridors that are walkable, bikeable, and transit accessible, that connect residents, employees, and visitors to each other and to the wider region. This vision aligns with the kind of vibrant, sustainable community I want to see for future generations. That said, I am in favor of the University Boulevard corridor plan with one important change. I strongly urge the exclusion of any modifications to Camp Mill Shopping Center. You see, Camp Mill Shopping Center is more than just a place to shop. It is the heart of our community. I moved to Camp Mill Estates when I was 8 years old. I grew up there. I attended Camp Mill Elementary, St. Andrews, and E. Brookley Middle School, which is now Odessa Shannon, I think. I have fond memories of the shopping center as a community anchor. I remember People's Drugstore, High's, Citizens Bank, and even worked at the beloved Camp Mill Records. It was a neighborhood and is a neighborhood where you ran into people and your community right there at Camp Mill Shopping Center. I celebrated friends' bar mitzvahs and at local synagogues and joined Christmas festivities at nearby churches. Camp Mill is a beautifully diverse and tightly woven community, and the shopping center is its linchpin. It should remain untouched. At the same time, I truly support efforts to make our broader community more walkable, bikeable, and rollable, improving access to transportation and creating an eco-friendly corridor should be and add to our own community. Enhancing the tree canopy, and adding safe crossings and ensuring accessibility would mean that my 97-year-old wheelchair-bound mother could safely enjoy a Sunday roll from Arcola across University Boulevard to Sligo Creek Park. That's the kind of thoughtful, inclusive design we need. Let's build a more connected, sustainable corridor while preserving the places that make our community feel like home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to this panel of speakers. I'd next like to call up Daniel Reck, Alexander Campbell, Ira Unger, Roman Nelson, and Michelle Penn. And Daniel Reck, you can start when you're ready.
Council members, my name is Daniel Reck. My wife Han and I own a house on Pierce Drive, immediately behind the Woodmore Shopping Center. Under this plan, our property will be rezoned for CRN with a maximum height of 50 feet, and the lots immediately behind us will be rezoned to CRT with a max height of 100 feet. Council members, I want to support this plan. However, this plan is different in two important ways from the plan that was pitched to me and my neighbors at the 3 community meetings that I attended. In 2 ways. This has left me feeling blindsided and worried about the future. First, I did not expect for my property to be rezoned. I attended to slide decks at these meetings carefully and asked about this multiple times and believed that only the shopping center would be rezoned for commercial residential use. Why did that change? I do not support this plan's rezoning the lots along Pierce Drive to CRN, and I have similar reservations about rezoning other single-family lots that are actually on University Boulevard. Ours is not. Selfishly, yes, I want to live in our house for a long time, and I do not wish to be boxed in by huge apartment buildings. But it is also not good policy. I support increasing residential density and walkability in Four Corners. I'm happy for the commercial part of Four Corners to develop aggressively, and I'm happy to live near duplexes, quadplexes, or even 2-story apartments on Pierce. Those are the kinds of missing middle housing options that housing advocates say we are lacking. Rezoning for these types of housing on lots that are currently single-family homes would promote housing affordability and ease the strain on public infrastructure that many others have spoken about. So that is what I think you should do, unless it's already being done by a different plan, which I believe it is. My second concern is that bus rapid transit lines were pitched to me at community meetings as a crucial and central part of this plan, but the actual plan makes no promises regarding BRT. I want our area to be more walkable and bikeable. I commute along University, and I will happily spend a little more time or take the bus. But if you slow car traffic and increase housing density without BRT, I fear that all my neighbors' worst fears will come true. Our street is already clogged at rush hour with car commuters cutting through our neighborhood. Without public transportation and other public infrastructure like sidewalks to accompany it, this plan will make our community more dangerous for pedestrians, not less. The nightmare scenario here is that we end up living next to failed developments, with developers forced to cut costs and let buildings deteriorate because a lack of public transit options has killed housing demand. Because people won't want to live in Four Corners if the traffic is terrible and the commute is very long. So I beg you, do not pass this plan without a firm commitment to funding BRT. In summary, to accomplish the stated goals of this plan, which I wholeheartedly support, I ask that you moderate the zoning of single-family houses along the corridor and on Pierce Drive in particular, and that you commit to actually introducing BRT along University. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Alexander Campbell.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Alex Campbell. I'm a student at the University of Maryland and a resident of Montgomery County. As an upperclassman, I'm beginning to think about my life after college. This plan could make a real difference in my life and those of my generation. I'm here today to make sure that young people like me have a real chance to live and work in this county and are not displaced by insane housing costs caused by single-family zoning. The median home price in Montgomery County is $650,000. The average rent is almost $2,500 a month, and nearly a quarter of renters and 40% of homeowners spend more than half their income just keeping a roof over their heads. This is an especially difficult situation for young people just beginning their careers with little savings and lower incomes. Unsurprisingly, our population of young adults is plummeting by the tens of thousands. And the reason is simple: there's not enough housing. This scarcity drives prices through the roof, forcing out working class folks, young adults, and keeping homeownership out of reach for so many. That's why the University Boulevard corridor plan matters so much. It would legalize the construction of thousands of homes in walkable, transit-rich neighborhoods, including townhomes, duplexes, triplexes, and small multifamily buildings. Homes like these aren't just units on a map. They're on average 2 to 3 times more affordable than single-family homes and are a real chance for people like me to stay in the community we grew up in, to start our careers here and start families here. This plan also tackles safety, because we can't just separate our lives from the streets we walk and bike on. University Boulevard is one of the most dangerous roads in the county. Over the last decades, crashes have caused 51 severe injuries and killed 5 people. This plan redesigns streets with protected crossings, safer sidewalks, bikeways, and traffic calming measures that will save lives, including the thousands of kids at Blair. My brother just graduated from there, and I do not want any more kids to have to cross that spaghetti mess of a nasty road with drivers speeding down. The choice is clear. We can continue the status quo, high housing costs, unsafe streets, and a county that young people cannot stay in, or we can build a future where people like me, who grew up here and want to stay, have the opportunity to live and work and thrive in our community. Let's make housing more abundant and affordable, our streets safe and calm, and ensure Montgomery County is a place where all of us have a future. Please pass this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ira Unger.
Thank you, council members, for this opportunity. I've raised my children for the last 24 years in Kemp Mill, and for the last 15 years, I've been active in civic affairs, was the president of the Civic Association for 4 years, and have worked for Delegate Bonnie Cullison for about 15 years, although I don't represent her today. The corridor plan envisions bus lanes, but the county's Department of Transportation separately installed 2 pilot program bus lanes in February 2024. The pilot program has failed on all the metrics of their goals, and I urge that we let cars travel on them again. 4 civic associations have opposed these lanes. Number 1, the pilot program increases global warming. DOT's November 24 evaluation, which included no public outreach or input, showed that buses save only 35 seconds from the 2-mile path. That will not get people out of their cars. Suburbs were built for cars. Buses still take too long. People are further deterred because the metro buses do not accept credit cards or smartphones at this point. 60,000 passengers, according to SHA, exponentially more than the bus passengers, lose 1/3 of their lanes, thus causing greater congestion and waiting times at the heavy intersections of Wheaton and Four Corners, resulting in greater fumes. Only 2 of the metro buses are electric. The rest are diesel that pollute more than cars. The $2 million spent on the red for the bus lanes would have more than doubled Metro's electric fleet. Number 2, it's not equitable to force the exponentially higher number of drivers to lose 20 seconds on the 2-mile segment, for small time savings for far fewer bus riders, with no concomitant reduction in greenhouse gases. 60,000 people are losing time, their most precious resource, for an insignificant benefit for far fewer people. When repeated at multiple intersections around the county, it significantly lowers people's quality of life. 3, from March to September 2024, the bus-only lanes caused a 9% increase in police-reported crashes from the same period in 2023, and a 52% increase compared to the same period in 2019, the year before COVID. This was predicted. Changing lanes rapidly over a short 2-mile stretch and then back again to figure out how and when to get into a lane for right turns will cause accidents. This will become far more dangerous when Northwood High School reopens. 4, there were 72 stops on the C4 Metro that travels that route from Hyattsville Crossing to Twinbrook, with 16 to 18-minute breaks between the buses during rush hour. There's no express bus. Metro should create express buses to radically cut down travel time and create greater convenience and dignity for our most vulnerable people. 5, public engagement. Since the lane installation in February 2024, DOT has not offered hearings or reached out and heard the public, violating their own promises. On November 17, 2023, DOT issued a press release stating an evaluation will be done in December 2025 to confirm that the bus lanes are beneficial to this corridor.
Mr. Unger, your time is up. You can submit your full testimony to the council. I appreciate it. Next, we have Roman Nelson.
Good evening, council members. My name is Roman Nelson, and I live in the Woodmore neighborhood next to St. Bernadette's Church and Montgomery Blair High School. We are here to preserve what families before us built. I'm here to urge you not to approve the University Boulevard corridor plan as written. This plan may sound like it's about equity or sustainability, but its impact will permanently disrupt established residential communities like mine. Let's be clear about what this plan does. It recommends rezoning single-family homes into commercial residential neighborhood zone, encouraging duplexes, triplexes, and higher density infill development in neighborhoods like Woodmore and Indian Spring. These neighborhoods are historically stable, walkable, and were carefully laid out with single-family zoning for a reason. This proposal directly contradicts the 1996 Four Corners Master Plan, which emphasized preserving neighborhood character, limiting commercial encroachment, and enhancing pedestrian safety. Nothing has changed since then to justify abandoning that vision. Despite promises, this plan will not deliver affordable housing. It explicitly states that housing will be sold at market rate and only encourages, not requires. It only encourages and not requires more than the minimum number of moderately priced dwelling units. New development will be priced above what working families can afford, driving land speculation, not affordability. On top of that, by eliminating driveway access on University Boulevard, this plan will divert cut-through traffic into our residential side streets past Pinecrest Elementary and Montgomery Blair. This puts kids in danger, increases congestion, and threatens public safety. Finally, Montgomery County's own zoning guidance requires changes to be consistent with adopted master plans and to protect existing community character. This plan fails that legal test. We are not against growth. We are against reckless rezoning and that trades livability for density without development consent or a meaningful affordability. You've heard from staff, planners, and developers. Tonight, hear from us. Protect Woodmore, protect our schools, protect our safety. Please reject the University Boulevard corridor plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Michelle Penn.
Good evening, esteemed members of the County Council. My name is Michelle Penn, and I am here today both as a Montgomery County small business owner and a resident of Kent Mill for 12 years, and I oppose the University Boulevard corridor plan. My husband and I have 5 children, ages 2 through 11, who go to private preschools and elementary schools that are not within walking distance of our home. We use University Boulevard multiple times daily to do carpools and run errands. We are also avid bikers, and many weekends you will find us out with 3 kids on bikes and 2 in a wagon, exploring the great bike paths in our neighborhood and beyond. Even with our passion for biking and being active, the reality is we are not able to give up our car for our bikes even for a day. We also cannot bring our 5 young children to various schools in various locations via public transit. We need to be transporting them via car every single day, multiple times a day. We have watched our community grow in record numbers over the past decade, and with it, the number of people who, like us, need to use our car to get in and out of our neighborhood and onto University Boulevard every day. You should be looking for ways to increase access and traffic flow on University Boulevard, not to restrict it with what you call, quote, traffic calming measures. Because reality check, we live in a suburban area. It's a fact. That's how it was created. You cannot turn a suburban area into a 15-minute city because the infrastructure that already exists will not be able to move within the 15-minute boundary. To pretend otherwise is ludicrous. But yet, that is what this plan insists on doing. The effects will be disastrous. By increasing the density along University Boulevard, you are adding hundreds more people to our roads, which are already crowded and busy. Do you know that during busy times, as it currently stands, you can still wait through multiple rounds of lights at Four Corners during rush hour? And this is the reality before you start outing thousands of residents up and down the corridor. What do you think will happen when you narrow that intersection down to 2 lanes in each direction with your plan? You will basically be making it virtually impossible to get anywhere in our suburban community. Because guess what? All those people who will live in your workforce housing will have the same problem as we do. They will need their car to get where they need to go every day. And it won't be because they don't love biking or rolling or public transit, but because we don't live in a 15-minute city. And it can't become that when it's already something else. Frankly, the whole plan is one large mess, a war on cars, in an effort to push an agenda that does not have the residents' best interests at heart. As our elected officials, the overwhelming opposition to this plan should give you a reality check about this going forward. You have 2.3 to 1 in last week's testimonies of negative and 4, and even tonight, so far, only 4 people have been in favor of this plan, with 2 of them with caveats. If you really think that this is what the people want, I wonder if you were to put it to a referendum, if you would see how much the residents of this county do not want this plan. Please oppose this plan.
Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists. Next, I will call up our last two in-person speakers, Malcolm Wilson and Jeremiah Pope. And just checking to make sure Eli Evenstadt, Bethany Mandel, and Nelson Maskowitz did not come in after I called their names. Nope, not seeing them. So Malcolm Wilson, you're going to kick us off.
Thank you. My name is Malcolm Wilson. I thank you for the opportunity to state my opposition to this plan. Over the past 45 years, I have lived at 3 different Wheaton addresses and have spent all but 4 years of my life, 70 years, in Montgomery County. My current home, where my family has been for 29 years, is right in the bullseye of this misguided plan. I feel it's unnecessary. The UBC will ruin my neighborhood if allowed to move forward. It will not create affordable housing. It will be an open season for developers. My main concern at the moment, though, are these dedicated lanes. I have been opposed to this since the initial pilot plan for bus and bike lanes. And in spite of both the failure of that trial and the communities overwhelmingly opposing it, you bought it back on steroids. This second 18-month plan, which was scheduled to expire in August of this year, was actually moved to permanent status in May. We were not advised of this. We asked Ms. Gonzalez at her meeting at Odessa Shannon if she would back the review of that plan. She dodged the question, knowing full well that this had gone to permanent status. Your listening sessions have seemed more like telling sessions. You put out flashy folders that talk about community needs, but the community has been kept at a distance. I live 1 block from University Boulevard. No one called me, no one knocked on my door, no one chatted with my neighbors. And worse, when I write to you with my concerns, only a few of you have actually answered me. My other concern is about the maintenance of this project. For the past 2 years, I have been after the county council, DOT, and anybody to come over and fix the sidewalks on this very corridor to return them to their original 5-foot width. I actually went out because I found out I was going to be able to speak tonight and measured them. Across from the Inwood House, the sidewalk is about 3 feet of walkable space down from Inwood Avenue to Sligo Creek Parkway. Going back the other way, it goes to as narrow as 18 inches. We can't fix what we have now, and you're telling me that you're going to come up with a project like this and you're going to be able to maintain it? I'm a little bit skeptical about it. Where will the money come from? With our federal and state funding seeing drastic cuts, how are we going to pay for this? More taxes? Not only the roads and utilities, but what about the necessary expansions of schools in the cluster? What is your plan for an expanded police and fire department presence, as this surely looks to expand population and thus dwarf the already strained resources? Many of the schools in this boundary are utilizing portable classrooms, and the impact on learning, especially in a school cluster with a large ESOL population, will be affected by these overcrowded classrooms. I appreciate the opportunity to present, steadfastly state my opposition, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Jeremiah Pope.
Good afternoon, Council President Stewart, Vice President Jawando, and members of the Council. My name is Jeremiah Pope. I'm a 20-year community member, immediate past president of my neighborhood association, and a local activist living in Silver Spring with my family. Thank you for the opportunity to testify regarding the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. I have reviewed the plan and attended community meetings. While outreach has been conducted, many residents remain unaware of the plan's scope, creating understandable concerns about transparency and input. We all recognize Montgomery County faces a housing crisis, along with significant transportation challenges. The goals of increasing transit usage, improving pedestrian and bicycle safety, and modernizing our corridors are important and necessary. At the same time, long-term residents are concerned that the plan may destabilize established communities. Given that the Council has already adopted Thrive 2050 and advanced recent workforce housing initiatives, I believe it's premature to move forward until more robust community engagement occurs. I respectfully urge the council to strengthen outreach, especially through neighborhood associations and community-based partners, and to ensure that existing affordable housing and the Kent Mill Shopping Center is preserved. Redevelopment should not come at the cost of displacement. In short, growth must be balanced with stability. By centering community engagement, protecting affordability, and building on existing frameworks, we can achieve a common ground that serves both current and future residents. Thank you for the time and consideration.
Thank you. Those are all our in-person speakers for this evening. We'll now turn to folks we have on Zoom, and I believe our first person is Harry Nefatalowicz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. And without further ado, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to present here today virtually. I appreciate the accommodation. I'm here today as a 3-year resident of Kent Mill who has loved my stay in Kent Mill thus far to object to the University Boulevard corridor plan. Context here, I moved here from St. Louis. We were looking for a new place to live, and we were really attracted to Kent Mill. And we want to keep it the way it is currently. We love it here. And the plan forgets that current residents of Kent Mill are what matters to local government, not some future resident. People who are here now is what really matters. The revised plan repeats ad nauseum that the plan does not coerce persons to redevelop their properties, including the Kent Mill Shopping Center. But the creation of options creates uncertainty for residents like myself. And that uncertainty creates instability for many families, such as my own. Moreover, I am troubled with the Planning Council's attempts to downplay the significance of the proposed rezoning of the Kent Mill Shopping Center. The plan states that, quote, rezoning includes some additions to height. Proposed change from 1 to 2 stories to 5 to 7 stories. That's a staggering 500 to 700% increase in the maximum height of buildings. And don't fact check my math there. That dramatic increase in the permissible height of buildings is more than just some additions. It's community changing, better yet, community damaging. My family and I reside on Monticello Avenue, which is parallel to Arcola Avenue. For context, Monticello Avenue extends approximately 5 blocks from Kenbrook Drive to Kent Mill Road. The attempts to make the Arcola Avenue area less car-friendly is nothing but an invitation to turn Monticello Avenue into the Autobahn. Neighbors of mine have already had a child struck by a car due to reckless drivers that are trying to circumvent rush hour traffic. And the increased traffic that will inevitably overflow from Arcola Avenue to Monticello Avenue will significantly increase the safety risks that children of Monticello face and significantly decrease our quality of life. Last but not least, I'll tell a personal story. It was a few years ago, my son, he was at a local event and he was eating a hot dog and he unfortunately choked on that hot dog. And he got to a point where he didn't even have a pulse. And it was nothing short of a miracle, the fact that my son is currently alive. And thankfully, we had wonderful emergency medical services helping us get us to the hospital right away. And that may have been the difference in saving my son's life. I'm very concerned about the right turn lane being affected by the University Boulevard corridor plan, specifically the right turn lane from Arcola to University Boulevard. It's a huge safety risk, and we need to make sure that emergency vehicles will be able to transport people to hospitals swiftly. Once again, I object to this plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Elizabeth Joyce. Liz, you can start. Liz, can you hear me? Well, I don't think she can hear me. Liz, can you hear us? I'm not sure she can. No, she's not frozen. I don't think she can hear us. Yeah. Okay. Liz, you're muted. Can you hear us? Yeah, she's speaking and I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, great. First of all, I've been a long-term member of this community. My name is Elizabeth Joyce, and thank you, Council President Stewart, Council Vice President Juando, and all council members. I feel very privileged to be in the company of such wonderful neighbors and such a council that's trying so hard to solve our problems. I want to pinpoint several issues that I think you should think about regarding this plan. They are misconceptions about densification and upzoning, master planning and sector planning, and community engagement. First of all council proposals to solve the housing crisis have assumed that rezoning single-family neighborhoods is necessary. Yet recently revised Council of Governments data, and those data are the source of most of these plans, show that the county has already approved enough units to accommodate all anticipated new residents for 30 years. So why is the council determined to rezone single-family neighborhoods to solve a problem that apparently does not exist? And how can anyone, like the young man who urged you to accept this plan so his generation can live here, as we all want him to, assume that the plan can meet stated affordability goals without any explanation of the means to attain those goals? Master and sector planning. When the council passed Thrive Montgomery 2050, residents were assured that all planning under Thrive would be conducted via master and sector plans. While Thrive introduced the corridors concept, there was no statement that the corridor planning would replace the master plan process, as this corridor plan really does. Thrive states Thrive Montgomery 2050 will inform future master and functional plans. Master plans or area master plans or sector plans are long-term planning documents for a specific place or geographic area in the county, and I will submit the rest in my written testimony. Despite these assurances, the University Boulevard Corridor Plan abandons master planning in focusing only on corridors rather than established neighborhoods. The plan makes it impossible to assess school, park, and public safety needs. Furthermore, the reliance on optional method of development for certain applicable projects remove residents from their legitimate role in master planning. Community engagement. This resistance to master planning raises crucial questions about its true rationale. At an event sponsored by the legal firm Lurch, Early, and Brewer in Bethesda last month, I asked two development firm executives how they view master planning. They both expressed strong approval for master plans, which they said demonstrate professional planning and community buy-in. So if developers favor master planning, why doesn't the planning board? Is it because the planning board seeks to deny homeowners their rightful place in the process? If the board conducted much public research, as it says, what fundamental changes did the plan engagement produced? Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Our last speaker this evening is Walter Mullen.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Good evening, council members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Walter Mullen. My family has lived in the Woodmore neighborhood of Four Corners since 2019. I want to be clear, I oppose the University Boulevard Corridor Plan as drafted. I do, however, strongly support targeted initiatives to improve pedestrian safety and walkability along University Boulevard. I think those improvements are badly needed, but this plan is not the way to achieve them. This proposal would remove 1 to 2 lanes, travel lanes in each direction along 3.5 miles of University Boulevard. At the same time, it would double housing density within the corridor. This is already one of the most congested stretches of road in the state. It connects 3 major highways and 11 beltway ramps, yet the plan offers no meaningful impact analysis of what these changes would mean for traffic, schools, utilities, or stormwater. The plan also assumes that transit can handle the growth. But today, our bus system is unreliable, even for those who want to use it. Riders face long waits and irregular schedules, and many still have to rely on cars. Basing this plan on an unfunded bus rapid transit line, which may not arrive within the 20-year horizon, is not responsible. In the past, development was staged to match infrastructure. This plan abandons that safeguard. For my family, these consequences are personal. I have 2 young children, ages 1.5 and 4.5. If density is added without proper planning, more congestion will lead to more cars cutting through our neighborhood. That makes our streets less safe for kids walking, biking, and playing outside. The plan also undermines our community character. It pushes new density deep into established neighborhoods, despite recent assurances that redevelopment would be limited to the main corridor itself. And it fails to protect landmarks like the Woodmore Shopping Center, which has served our community for more than 85 years. I urge you to restore planning staff's recommendation that it be evaluated for inclusion in the master plan for historic preservation. For all these reasons, I respectfully urge you to return this plan to the planning department for further analysis and real community consultation. I think we should pursue focused improvements that enhance safety, mobility, and quality of life now, and continue to look for meaningful strategies to expand affordable housing, but not by imposing unsustainable density in one of the county's most congested corridors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is our last speaker for this evening. This public hearing is now closed. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.